When we take a look at section 4-2, this is what it starts with, and this should be very familiar. A journal. One of the nice things about this journal is it's all journalized. It's our fancy phrase of saying everything's put on there already. Thank you. What we're taking a look at in chapter 4 is going to be taking this information from our journal and putting it on our ledger. Yesterday, in section 4-1, we learned about our chart of accounts, and we also learned about how to open a ledger. And opening a ledger is really easy because our business has just started. All we have to do to open it is to go through and record the account title and the account number. Okay? Remember, our account numbers are easy to help us to identify what type of account it is, because a 1 is an asset, 2 is liability, 3 is owner's equity, 4 is revenue, and 5 is expenses. Okay, so our account numbers help us to classify it. So what we have to do is we have to realize we are going to journal 2 different ways. We're going to journalize individually, and we're going to journalize totals. Okay, and when we journalize, we always journalize top, bottom, left, right. So we'll start the top of our journal and we'll go down. Once we're done at the end of the month, then we move here and move across. We journalize individually and we journalize totals. When we journalize individually, that means we take anything from the general column and we post it. Okay? What is important for us to know for a business is that for the month of March, I had $838 worth of sales. That's an important number for me, because then I'm going to look at April to see I had $700 worth of sales there. It gives us as a business what we would anticipate have happened for that business. Certain times of the year are busier than others. Toyland opened up this weekend at Fleet Farm. Do you think they were busy? They're always crazy busy at Toyland when it opens up. So you're going to see that they're going to have a spike of sales in October because of opening of Toyland. Now, what do you think? A business that sells motorcycles, are they doing a lot of sales right now? Depends. You can have some end of the year closeout, but most people are not thinking of buying a motorcycle at this time of the year in Wisconsin. If we lived in Florida, it doesn't matter this season. People can ride year-round. So you have different businesses that have certain months that you know are going to be busier. Is the golf course busier now or in May? May. Because people are excited. They want to be outside. They want to do things. They're not as busy now because it's been sunny out. It's been okay, whatever. So we take these numbers here from our special column, sales and cash, and we post those only at the end of the month. So I know for the month of March, I had $838 worth of sales. I know for the month of March, I had $5,775 coming into my business for cash. I had $2,085 going out. It's important that we can understand and estimate the amount of cash flows in our business. Cash flows means how much money's coming in and how much money's going out within a business. If we can't estimate that, we're going to have a hard time paying our bills. So we always need to know what our estimated cash flow is. So when we take a look at section 4-2 today, we are truly going to be working on the general column and the post reference. We're not going to do anything with totals. We'll do that as a separate assignment, but I need you to realize that we do it in 2 steps. Individually, and then we do totals. Our instructions says a complete journal and general ledger accounts are given below. Your instructor will guide you through the following examples. Leonard Witowski owns a service business that uses the following accounts. And here they give us our chart of accounts. In number 1 down below it says post the separate amounts on each line of the journal that need to be posted individually. That is important. The procedure of how you post is as important as getting the assignment done. So don't skip around. You want to do this in the exact order of how I am showing you. That's important. Don't be like, oh, I'll get it done and I'll do it this way. it won't work. Some things will be thrown off when you take a look at how our things are going to be posted. So what I do is I take a look at when I'm posting, I'm going to look at line number 1 here. Line number 1 again is indicated with these numbers down the left hand side. I take a look, is there anything in the account title? And yes, there is. What is in the account title is going to clue me into how I'm going to post it. So I'm going to look here, I see it says Leonard Witowski Capital, so I know that's my ledger account that I have to find. So how do I find that? Down below here, I have a drop-down menu where I get to choose all kinds of accounts. So I'm going to choose the account that I see right here. So this is my ledger account. So to understand my ledger account, I'm going to look here. I have my account title across the top, and I have my account number on the right-hand side. Looking at my ledger, I have the date. I have a column here for the month. I have a column here for the day. Notice this item column. It's really small, and I can't type anything in there. So what does that tell you? You need to worry about it. Nothing right now. We're not going to be doing anything with the item column. Later on, we'll do some stuff with it, but not very often. Post reference. Well, look at this column and this column. They're kind of the same thing, so we'll have to talk about that. I have debit credit, and then I have balance debit credit. The purpose of our ledger is so that at any given point, I can look there to see what the balance of that account is. So I have 2 debits and I have 2 credits. I am not making debits and credits equal on here. I'm just getting what the balance is. So what would happen is the amount of the transaction from your ledger goes here on the debit and credit columns, and then we calculate our new balance. Because if they had a debit balance of $50 and I debited another $50, that would be $100. Okay, 2 debits you add, 2 credits you add, a debit and a credit you would subtract, and your balance would be whatever one is bigger, your debit or credit. Okay. The last thing that we always do is always go back up into our journal. And again, I will say this, the procedure of how we do this is as important as getting it done. I should not see any numbers filled in the post-reference column, Mr. Thomas, there. Just wait. Because you're going to get it wrong, and then you're not going to know why. Delete them off. Seth? Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm looking at this first line, Leonard Witowski Capital. It is being credited here for $5,000. So what I have to do is I have to take this transaction from my journal, put it into my ledger. Let's go ahead and start with our month and our day, and it's going to be March 1st. I always move left to right. So I put the month, I put the date. I'm not doing anything with the item column. The next column I'm working with is post-reference. Post-reference on the ledger truly means, where did you get your information from? So if we're getting something from March 1st, we're getting it from here. And this is going to be from our journal. What page of our journal? 1. Not tricky. It really says it in the upper right-hand corner, right? So I'm going to put a 1 in there. That 1 does not mean the date. That 1 means the page number from the journal that we got the information from. Okay, so now I take a look at Leonard Witowski Capital up here. I can see it has a credit of $5,000. I take that credit of $5,000 and I put it right on there. So all I'm doing is taking what is in my general columns and putting it in the debit and credit columns. Now I have to calculate the balance. Trenton, what was the balance of Leonard Witowski Capital before this transaction? Right. So what did I just do with this transaction? As a debit or credit? Credit. Okay, so if I had a zero balance and I credited 5,000, what's my new balance? It's not tricky math. 5,000 as a credit. Okay, I'm not putting it over here as a debit. I am not making debits and credits equal. I am just calculating my new balance, which is $5,000 as a credit. The last, very last step, and I don't want to see anyone filling in all this post-reference number up here in the top, is to take your account number 310 and it goes back up here. When you type 310 up here on your journal, that means you have it posted. That's why I didn't want anyone to have those numbers filled in, because that would mean you have it posted and you're done with your assignment, and you're not. So the procedure of how you do it is important. Line from the journal to your ledger. When you're done with your ledger, you go back to your journal and you put your account number in. When you put that 310 in there, that signals to you, okay, I can go now move on to line 2 of my journal. If you get interrupted halfway through journalizing, you're going to know where you left off, because whatever the next blank line is going to be what you need to post. And that's what it's called when we take information from our journal and put it onto our ledger. It's called posting. So let's do line 2. When I look at line 2, our account title says prepaid insurance. So down here in the bottom, I'm going to find that account. I'm going to start with my month and my day, which is March 3rd. Post reference is going to be the same for all of these because I'm using the same journal page, which is 1. When I look at prepaid insurance, on line 2 of my journal, I go across here, prepaid insurance. I look right here and it says, all right, prepaid insurance is debited $660. It's under the general debit, so I'm going to put $660 down here. Previously, prepaid insurance had a 0 balance, so a 0 plus a debit of $660 is going to give me a balance of $660. Last step I do is I take account number 140 and I put it back up here. Do the same thing for line 3, which is supplies. Keep going, Clayton. Put our month, day, post reference is still 1. Supplies, I look here going across in the general column, because that's the only columns I'm looking for numbers right now, is going to be 78 as a debit. Previously, supplies had a 0 balance, so if I debit it $78, its new balance has to be a debit of $78. Line 4 has accounts payable, Joshua Supply. Date is still March 4th. Post reference is 1. Accounts payable Joshua Supplies is being credited in the general column because that's where I'm getting my numbers from. Balance previously was 0, so its new balance is 78. Account number 210 goes back up on my journal. Line 5 from my journal. When I take a look at line 5, is there anything in my general columns? I do nothing. I don't have to post anything individually from that, because it's all being taken care of in special columns. And our special columns are taken care of being posted at the end of the month. So right now, when I'm posting individually, I can't say this enough, I'm only looking at whatever numbers are my general debit and credit columns. It's very important that you post it correctly. You do not put 210 up here until you have it entered into here. So stay with us. Okay? So after we go through and we take a look at line number 5, we're going to go to line 6. What account title is in line 6? So we're going to go to accounts receivable. Danielle Brasted. The date is March 9th. Post reference is 1, and we're debiting for $163. Account number 120 goes back up on top. Again, the new balance for accounts receivable Danielle Brasted is going to be a debit of $163. Line 7, we're going to rent expense. March 12th is the date. We are debiting it for $375. Previously had a zero balance, so therefore I'm going to go ahead and do the new balance as a debit of $375. Line 8 is going to be where it's going to get a little bit different. Line 8 says we have the date of the 15th, accounts payable Joshua Supply. And if I go to Joshua Supply, we already have something in there, don't we? Okay, so we have to do something a little bit different on this one. We have to do something called math. I know it's crazy. So I don't need to put the month. We only put the month on there once. The next time that we switch to a new month, then I would put the new month on there. So I just need to put the date. And the date is going to be the 15th. Post reference is still 1 because I'm still getting this information from page 1 of my journal. When I look at line 8, I am debiting accounts payable Joshua Supply $50. So I'm going to put here as a debit of 50. I do not put 50 here as a debit because that's not its balance. Okay? We can see here that accounts payable Joshua Supply has a credit balance of $78. Would you agree? If I have a credit of 58 and I debited at 50, what do I need to do? Add or subtract? Subtract. 2 debits, you add. 2 credits, you add. A debit and a credit, you subtract. Which one is bigger, my debit or credit? My credit is, because I have a credit of 78 and I have a debit of 50. So it's not going to be a zero balance. So what I have to know is my balance is therefore going to be a credit balance of how much? Can we do that math today, or are we too tired? 28. Would you agree? 78 minus 50 will give me 28. So now, if Joshua Supply were to call us and say, you owe us $300, we could look here and say, nope, according to this, we only owe you $28. So that's what our ledger does, is it gives us at any given point how much we have in that account. The last step that we always do is take that account number 210, and that's going to go back up on here. Accounts receivable Danielle Brasted for the date of the 16th. We're going to have the same thing. We already have a transaction recorded in there. We put the date of the 16th, post reference of a 1. And we can see accounts receivable Danielle Brasted right here. We're crediting it for $100. Accounts receivable Danielle Brasted had a previous balance of $163 as a debit. We're crediting it at 100. Our debit is bigger than our credit, so we're going to have a debit balance of 63. You always have to do math to determine the balance. Last step, account number 120, back up on top. The date of the 25th, we have Leonard Witowski drawing. March 25th, post reference of a 1, and we're debiting it $1,000. The last step that you do is take account number 320 and put that back up on your journal. And now, when I look at my journal, because this column is filled in now, that tells me I have all of this posted individually. So that's why you never go through and put account numbers in there, because those account numbers means it's posted. It's always the last step. Take that account number and put it back up there. Go ahead and try on your own.